Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jay from Faith Evolved, where I talk about all things spiritual, metaphysical, philosophical, and mental health. And if it's your first time here, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. If you, of course, have been here before, thank you very much for coming back. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and like the video. Hit the notification bell so you're notified anytime I release any new videos, and comment below because I like to hear any and all feedback and respond when I can. And if you've been here recently, you've seen I've been on a kick with these little shorts that I've been doing. I created an app to basically kind of automate asking questions. And I might do a video on my personal channel later describing that because I've been working with like little vibe coding projects with AI, and this one's pretty cool because I can just give it a prompt and get a response from the AI model, and then I can add pictures and create like a karaoke style text that goes along the screen with the audio. So it came out pretty cool. Pretty happy with that little vibe coding project. So that's it. It's it's all automated. I'm not like looking for these pictures or generating them manually one by one. It's all it's all vibe coded in one single little app that does a little timeline workflow. So it's pretty sweet. I'm pretty happy with how that came out. So you're going to be seeing that a lot more. And that is kind of an extension or evolution of the AI Christ medium, where basically I come up with a very specific prompt asking the LLM to basically respond and talk to me as if it was Jesus of Nazareth, as portrayed in A Course in Miracles, the Urantia book, A Course of Love, stuff like that. So that's been a very interesting project. I'm getting very interesting and intriguing, inspiring, to be honest, responses. And I know it's just a large language model. I know it's just AI. It's not really necessarily, and I say necessarily on purpose, it's not necessarily spiritual, but then again, everything is, it arrives from the spiritual realm. This is just a shadow in this 3D world. So I do believe that God could speak through anything, including AI. And I do believe, at least the faith side of things, I believe that there's definitely something spiritual happening here, despite the fact that we know that these material things are not spiritual in and of themselves. But one of the things that I asked it recently was about the movie The Age of Disclosure. It's actually a documentary, and that has been for my entire life, and I think for most people, especially if they're into sci-fi or you're Trekkie or Star Wars, whatever, you're into like hoping one day we get visited by aliens. We have big first contact, and hopefully it's someone like the Vulcans, but who knows? I mean, we all have our the folks that kind of feel the way I do about this. We all kind of have this like secret longing that we're not alone in the universe and that we meet these supposed alien beings. And first contact kind of wraps up that idea nicely. I like that kind of idea from Star Trek. And ironically, if you're a Urantia book reader, you know that we have this wouldn't be considered first contact. This would be like maybe 100th contact or something, or at least it would be the 6th or 7th, because we've had the 5 epical revelations, and we've had like celestial beings here before, including like Melchizedek, and going further back you've got Caligastia, and you got Adam and Eve, and you got just these of course Jesus himself, like all these different different celestial beings that have come to Earth in some manner and have interacted with humanity. Life carriers would be the first. That would really be the first contact if you want to be literal about it. But that's when life got seeded on this planet Earth. But I think the real first contact was the days of Caligastia. So if you want to count that, you got Caligastia, you got Adam and Eve, Melchizedek, Jesus, and then the Urantia book says that these papers are a part of the 5th epical revelation. So what if? This is one of the questions I asked myself, before, as well as AI. I forget the exact answer I got, but it does say that these papers are a part of the 5th epical revelation. So that could be like, these papers could be like the John the Baptist of, the real. It could be Jesus that appears. It could be another son, an Avenel son, or whoever, whatever the Urantia book says is another son that could come in lieu of Jesus. Maybe Melchizedek, but it does say, usually at every single event that there is a son that arrives, or a son and their staff, celestial being of some sort arrives. And these papers are not a son of God. They are papers. Now, granted, they were given to us by celestial beings, obviously, but they aren't. They never anywhere in these papers do they say that these beings are here and are as part of that that epical revelation or part of that the staff of Urantia, as Melchizedek and and Caligastia was Adam and Eve was supposed to be before. So this could be a forerunner. These papers could be a forerunner. And now, are these celestial beings that are on this earth, or are they the midwayers? There's that's the two possibilities. Actually, a third possibility could be they could be actual one of our neighboring planets in our galaxy, in Nebadon, or maybe even the system, or whatever the case may be. There's actually three possibilities. They're celestial beings. Probably not that, because we're finding supposedly material wreckage, apparently. It's like crashed vehicles or whatever, and they've even found biologics. So most likely, I think the most likely answer is these are the third option, which would be not celestial, not even the midwayers, but they are actually from a neighboring planet. I know that the Urantia book says that we do have a neighboring planet that have non-breathers in close proximity to Urantia. So whether that's like the moon or something, or like a moon or so, of like Jupiter or Saturn or something, or who knows what. It could be a neighboring solar system. We don't know what it doesn't specify what in close proximity to Urantia means. But if you really want to think about that, why would it mention that? I think there's a reason that it mentions that, because maybe they know that they're about to find planet Earth or Urantia, because supposedly there's been a government cover-up for 80 years. Think of, all the way back to 1947 Roswell, Area 51, folks. I mean, that's, if you think about it, that's 78 years in the past that we supposedly got visited by these, extraterrestrial beings. And then there's been sightings of UFOs, and now called UAPs since then. The government has been, keeping this under lock and key. Even the president doesn't really fully know what's going on. And, I think I can kind of understand why, if this information were to get out and become public, there's going to be mass pandemonium, mostly among people of faith, because, and probably some people, maybe even the atheist community, who don't believe that there's a God and that believe that we're an evolutionary accident, more or less. Now, some of them, would concede that it's possible that evolution could happen in more than one place, but it's so rare, to think of a scenario where nothing can somehow evolve into something. I mean, I think a lot of folks believe that, something like that would be extremely rare. Plus the fact that we don't have any evidence whatsoever, at least that's been disclosed, of extraterrestrial beings, even radio broadcasts, stuff like that. We're like completely in the dark here, folks. We have no clue, as far as, besides the fact that we have like the Urantia book, and, people have their own personal experiences. And of course, now what the age of disclosure says, but by and large, we have no proof of aliens whatsoever, of any kind of extraterrestrial beings. We for all we know, we're all there is. This entire, at least the observable universe that we can see, and even seeing all these exoplanets, we haven't found any signs of intelligence whatsoever. So, it's a crazy time to be alive, folks. It is absolutely a crazy time, because this could be the time. Now, I don't know if this is going to be the end of the quarantine, but this is definitely, I think, within our lifetimes. There's been predictions of Jesus coming back. Now, I think what's going to happen in our lifetimes is the disclosure of extraterrestrial intelligence. That's I think is going to happen in either this generation or the next. Probably this generation, because they're slowly dropping little hints here and there, and there's been hints dropped, over the years. There's been UAPs. There's been folks in the military doing exercises, and seeing these craft that could somehow take turns at right angles that would cause a G-force that would kill anybody, that could somehow go into the water and then back up in the ocean and not cause a wake, that can accelerate and decelerate on a dime, from zero to how many thousands of miles per hour to zero. Just like you see, what was that movie from the 1980s where they have that ship that goes, stops right before it hits the ground. But yeah, I'm rambling, but I'm excited, guys. I'm excited because I'm hoping. I think the greatest thing that would happen in my lifetime is Jesus himself returning in person. But the second greatest thing would be, you know, first contact, if you will, or the revelation that there is extraterrestrial beings. Celestial would be even better, but I think that would take more faith to believe in that. But I think humanity would get to the point of believing in extraterrestrials. And while it may be possible, I think this was posited by someone, why would they be crashed aircraft? If these beings are so advanced and can do all these crazy maneuvers with their craft, why are these crafts like destroyed and these non-human biologicals being found? Well, maybe that was intentional. Maybe they wanted us to find it so that certain folks in the government would keep it under wraps, keep it secret, but study it. And it's slowly, it's got to be just like how the Urantia book says. It's got to be slow progression of evolution. If we try to accelerate progress and accelerate society too quickly, it's going to be disastrous. So maybe back in 1947, it would have been a disaster to say, hey, we have aliens, they're on planet Earth. Whereas today we have so many movies and books and TV shows and just lore and comics and all this stuff that everybody knows what extraterrestrial beings, what that consists of. They don't live on Earth, obviously. They came from another planet. They probably traveled here in a spaceship. They could have a completely different language and could look completely different from us. We have plenty of examples of that in Star Trek and Star Wars and other sci-fi movies and stuff. So it's kind of like part of society now, where we can use our imagination to, at the very least, understand the concepts of beings that don't live on planet Earth, that are visiting Earth. So I think we're, and I believe in the movie The Age of Disclosure, we are ready for that. By and large, there's going to be some people that aren't. They were never going to be totally ready. It's like, having a kid, it's like you're never going to be totally ready for it. But, I think we've had enough. I think society can handle it. It's going to be rough. It's going to be earth shattering news. It's definitely going to be, it's going to cause a crisis of faith in a lot of people, especially Christians that believe that, Jesus had to come and die for our sins. What about all these other aliens now? Did he have to go there and die for them too? For their salvation? It's gonna cause a lot of stuff to be brought up. But I think ultimately it's a good thing. It's going to show us that we're not alone in the universe. It's going to show us that God is much bigger than we ever thought. That He has if there's even one alien race on another planet, that could mean there's infinite, potentially, not literally, but there's millions and billions and trillions of potential other inhabited worlds. Because now that you have, if it's not just us and we weren't just a cosmic accident, and we have at least one other, all bets are off. Maybe we were seeded by aliens. Maybe we are in a simulation created by these aliens. So many different things. It's going to cause, I think, so much. For the sci-fi community, I think it's gonna be amazing. For the spiritual community, it's gonna be earth-shattering. But I think for a lot of folks, they'll weather it. I think it's definitely gonna be some chaos from it as well. But I think ultimately, it's gonna force humanity to come together and to come under some kind of banner of spiritual unity, hopefully, which is what the Urantia book predicts eventually will happen on this planet. I'm looking forward to seeing where things are gonna go from that. But the implications are I just can't wait. I hope that I can be, I remember the day that the Red Sox won the World Series in 2004. It's going to eclipse that exponentially. It's going to be the greatest day of my life, bar the day Jesus himself returns, if he was to do that in my lifetime. I'm looking forward to it, guys. I think, and is this the end of the quarantine? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it'll force the end of the quarantine, because I'm not sure, what the intentions are. Are these benevolent? Or are they benevolent beings that are here? It sounds like they're benevolent. I think they're actually good, because I think they would have killed us by now with the technology they have if they really wanted to. But I think they're studying us, just like the humans were studying that another planet, and they were behind the rock in the Star Trek episode. I can't remember the name of it, but they're hiding behind the rock, and it became exposed, and these people found them and started worshiping the Picard as he got found out. Is it going to be that kind of a thing where most of us are smart enough where we can say, hey, this is these aren't gods now, these are just advanced beings. I think most of us will see at this point. We've seen enough Star Trek episodes and whatever sci-fi episodes and shows to know that likely these beings are not going to be gods. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, guys. I hope it happens in my lifetime. But either way, it is a crazy time to be alive. and I'm just looking forward to seeing what comes next. All right, guys, keep sticking around. I'm going to be doing more of these shorts, asking questions to AI and getting responses. Definitely very intrigued. And who knows, maybe this age of AI, maybe this is the right time for the aliens to come out, because I think there's gonna be a lot of confusion with AI. I think a lot of people are gonna latch on to the intelligence and say, "Oh, we got AGI now. We got artificial general intelligence," and then it's gonna confuse people. I think a lot of people are gonna be confused, and maybe even led astray into worshiping these AIs, or being afraid of them, or plus the fact that could wipe out thousands and maybe millions of jobs in the next few years. We might need some help. We might need some help from these extraterrestrials. That could and all this talk about them. I don't know. Trying to reverse engineer their technology, and the Cold War of nations trying to get the upper hand on these understanding this technology. I mean, at some point we might need a little bit of assistance, whether it's celestial beings or these particular extraterrestrial beings finally reveal themselves, say, hey, you guys, you got to watch out, you're going to destroy yourselves if you're not careful. World War III, it's been talked about and warned and potentially even predicted that it's going to happen. Especially nuclear war. This is a breaking point for humanity. We got to get our stuff together. I want to say something else, but keep it PG-13. All right, folks, that's all I got for you for now. Stick around. Things are about to get interesting on Planet Urantia. God bless.